Have you ever wondered why, in an era where we can literally instantly connect with anyone on the planet, our world somehow feels more deeply divided than ever before? It's wild, right? We're living in this time of unprecedented technological connection, yet at the exact same time we're experiencing a polycrisis, just a massive, overwhelming collision of ecological, social, and systemic breakdowns. It's a profound paradox. But what if this actually isn't a sign of our ultimate failure, but rather the painful friction of a species outgrowing its old operating system?
Well, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating, comprehensive blueprint derived from an ambitious design stage project called Phoenix. We're going to map out humanity's potential shift from a fear-based survival paradigm to one of conscious, regenerative cooperation. And don't worry, this isn't just high-level philosophy. We'll be looking at the practical, infrastructural bridges being proposed to actually help us cross this gap.
Okay, here's our roadmap for today. We'll cover the illusion of separation, the evolutionary fork, practicing shared belonging, the Phoenix syntropy platform, engines of transformation, and finally, multi-generational stewardship. Let's get right into it. Section 1. The illusion of separation and how boundaries became walls.
You see, humanity didn't arrive at our present state through some grand master plan. Throughout history, boundaries, think of things like families, nations, or even professional disciplines, were incredibly useful. They helped us survive, build local trust, and develop specialized knowledge. But over time, those protective boundaries hardened. They became walls of extraction that hide consequences and shrink our moral concern down to just us versus them. If you look at the left side of this diagram, the fear-based survival loop, you see how our old operating system uses fear as its primary driver. It triggers defensive competition and totally reactive decision-making. When institutions run on this fear loop, treating interconnected crises as isolated problems to be dominated, it inevitably leads to systemic fragmentation. Ecological collapse and social conflict just end up feeding into one another. But follow the diagram to the right, and you see a proposed transition toward conscious coevolution, where fear is actually replaced by a life-aligned, regenerative framework.
That brings us to Section 2, the evolutionary fork, navigating the great bifurcation.
Humanity has reached a critical threshold. Those extractive, siloed systems we just talked about, they're literally breaking down under their own systemic stress. The sheer volume of information, capital flow, and ecological strain has made our old steady states completely unstable. Look right at the center of this diagram, the great bifurcation. In systems theory, when a system is under immense stress, it just can't stay the same. It hits a breaking point, a fork in the road. On the left path, we see maladaptive collapse, double-down authoritarianism, intensified fragmentation, and ecological ruin. But on the right, there's this incredible potential to leap to a higher-order reorganization. We're talking about a conscious civilization, characterized by adaptive governance, trust as actual infrastructure, and circular economies. We are standing right at that glowing fork today.
Section 3. Practicing shared belonging, transforming the human core.
So how do we actually choose that right-hand path? Well, it starts internally. To navigate this bifurcation, we have to fundamentally upgrade our internal operating system. We need to shift from a posture of fearful separation to one of shared belonging. The source material uses a powerful and maybe even a surprising term for this: unconditional love. Now let's look at this definition carefully, because it's a game changer. It is an unconditional commitment to the dignity and belonging of life, joined to conditional decisions about trust, access, authority, and consequence. This is absolutely crucial to understand. Unconditional love in this systemic context is not just some passive, fuzzy feeling or endless permissiveness. It is an active, accountable structure. It means you can hold someone fully accountable or even dismantle a harmful institution without ever denying the fundamental humanity of those involved.
Let's contrast these elements to make it crystal clear. On the left, we have trust, access, and accountability. These are highly conditional. They absolutely must be earned, monitored, and maintained. But on the right, dignity, concern, and fundamental worth are unconditional. We have to rigorously evaluate boundaries and stop harmful behavior, while simultaneously and unconditionally upholding fundamental human dignity. For example, you can revoke someone's access to a system because they broke your trust, but you don't need to dehumanize or destroy them in the process.
Which leads us to a really beautiful metaphor: boundaries as living membranes, not walls. A healthy boundary doesn't erase our interconnectedness. Think of a biological cell. Its membrane protects its unique identity and its function, but it's selectively permeable, right? It allows nutrients in and waste out. It communicates with the entire body. Our social and institutional boundaries need to function the exact same way, protecting responsibility and identity without constantly creating enemies.
Section 4, the Phoenix Syntropy Platform, the Connective Bridge.
Having the right philosophical alignment just isn't enough on its own. We need infrastructure. If shared belonging is the destination, this design stage architecture is the proposed bridge to actually get us there. The blueprint puts it this way. The Phoenix platform is being developed as connective, human-governed public interest infrastructure. Notice what it is entirely not. It's not a central authority. It's not a dystopian social scoring system or a substitute for law. The whole goal here is explicitly to avoid centralized domination. Humanity already has massive resources, brilliant knowledge, and deep local wisdom. What's missing is the governed connective tissue to help all these isolated groups find each other, build trust, and coordinate their actions without losing their own sovereignty.
Section 5, Engines of Transformation, moving from isolated ideas to coordinated action. So how does that coordination actually happen? Here we see the current state on one side, the polycrisis of fragmentation. Organizations are acting in rigid, competing silos. It's basically a factory model where effort is scarce and we constantly duplicate work while fighting over resources. Now compare that to the transformation side, powered by the synergy engine. It shifts the core logic from linear extraction to circular regeneration. It's literally the difference between a smog-filled industrial park and a thriving, interconnected garden. The synergy engine is designed to identify exactly where Initiative A and Initiative B can combine to create an impact that is way greater than the sum of their parts. It's about solving more with less.
The mechanics of this synergy engine break down into 3 main steps. First, systems mapping. It makes stakeholders, ecological relationships, and islands of coherence visible to everyone. Second, opportunity synthesis. An AI-augmented layer helps identify complementary capabilities. Think of it like matching an agricultural project with the local water integrity initiative. Third, and this is the really cool part, swarm intelligence coordination. Look, if you've ever tried to coordinate dinner plans in a group chat of 10 people, you know human coordination is incredibly tough. Now imagine doing it on a planetary scale. This engine allows it to function like a murmuration of starlings in the sky. Have you ever seen that? Thousands of birds moving in perfect synchrony without a single leader yelling out orders. By sharing real-time relational alignment and shared goals, human groups can coordinate complex action just as fluidly.
Section 6, Multi-generational Stewardship, Inheriting and Regenerating the Earth. All of this coordination serves a timeline way larger than quarterly profits. It's about how we fundamentally redesign our economy and our culture to pass a thriving Earth down to future generations. Here is a comprehensive blueprint for this shift. Notice the bridge at the bottom left, from economism to earthism. Economism represents our old, narrow obsession with profit-driven concerns and short-term GDP. The shift to earthism and the broader framework of multi-generational stewardship shown here prioritizes the well-being of the planetary ecosystem itself. It asks us to balance profit with life-affirming impact, recognizing that we are part of nested wholes, the individual, the family, the community, and ultimately the planet.
At the absolute heart of this is the principle of multi-generational stewardship. It's the embrace of active conservation, regenerative living, and treating our presence on this planet as a profound ethical duty to be worthy ancestors. It means shifting our measure of success from gross output that destroys the soil to the actual restoration of life-supporting systems. It totally changes what we consider to be value.
To bring all these concepts together, the source material concludes with a powerful, shared belonging covenant. These are practical, everyday principles you can take into your life and your institutions right now. Seek the truth, but never at the cost of dehumanizing others. Ensure accountability, absolutely, but strip away the cruelty. Protect your boundaries without seeking to dominate. Coordinate with people who are totally different from you without trying to erase those differences. And most importantly, practice the future in your daily structures, in exactly how you listen, how you decide, and how you share power.
You know, the future isn't just some magical place we simply arrive at one day. It is the pattern we strengthen through repeated action. Shared belonging begins the very moment you refuse the false choice between truth and love, and you choose both. So, taking all this in, from the illusion of separation to that evolutionary fork in the road to the connective promise of platforms like Phoenix and the vital ethos of multi-generational stewardship, I want to leave you with this final thought. How will you practice the future today?